Relax, the keyboard is off, the press box is closed, and the mic is just getting warmed up as the Guardian of the Blue Paint turned writer is about to enlighten us. The show where the writer is fresh off the presses and the ink is not dry. For this week's show, on the week before Christmas and what would be on the Flyers wish list. Welcome to the Hockey Writers Inc. Join Lance and Steel as we bring you all the latest on the Flyers.
Hi guys, welcome back to the Hockey Writers Inc. As always, I'm your host, Lance Green.
And as always, I'm your co-host, SteelFlyers. And, well, Lance, I'll tell you what. How you doing, sir?
You know, I'm doing pretty good despite the Flyers this season and this past week. So, you know.
I mean, just when you think they were doing good there just for a second, and then no.
Not so much.
Not so much. Right, yeah. Listen, I got to tell you something here, folks. Thank you all very much for tuning in and checking out the Hockey Writers Inc. Man, we have a lot of appreciation for you guys and for you tuning in and for you being here every week for us. So thank you all very much. You guys get the Hockey Writers Inc. salute. So thank you very much for tuning in and supporting us and hitting the like and subscribe, and we really appreciate that. On the show this week, folks, we are at show and episode number 105. That's right, episode 105 on the week before Christmas. And what would be on the Flyers wish list? Well, I'll tell you what, I got a wish list. I'm sure Lance has a wish list. Look, we're about at just about at the third mark of the season, right? We're 30 games in. Okay. The Flyers don't even have 10 wins at the 30 game mark. They're 9-14-7.
Yes.
Okay. Now, I don't know about you, but man, that doesn't ring very well, does it?
No. Not at all. Not at all. Currently on a 4-game losing streak. As we film this, the Devils game is playing still, so
yeah,
it might be 5 by the end of the night. Who knows?
Who knows?
Yeah.
All right, great. Look, the Flyers have been in the games to some aspect. Okay, they've been in it against the Avalanche. They were in it against the Islanders. Do you know what I mean? They were in it against. All right, well, they really weren't in it against, I guess. But anyway, there was some team but for the most part, they were in the games for the most part. I mean, it's not like the Flyers are getting blown out, right?
No. I think Tortorella is doing what, you know, we've said all season. He's doing the best he can with what he has. And, you know, he has the Flyers, whoever can be healthy enough to play that night,
Right.
playing up to, you know, at least my expectations of the brittle, you know, bunch that's left. And, you know, I think he's not the one to blame. You know what I mean? He's got these guys playing. He's got these guys in games when they probably shouldn't even be in games with some of these teams.
See, that's kind of where I'm coming from here. So I have 5 wishes that I would like to see. And let's just see kind of where you're at on this.
All right.
What do you think?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay. Wish number 1. And some of these wishes are based off of what we've seen so far, and some of these wishes are maybe hypothetical or what we would like to see, maybe. at least from me, from my side of it. You know what I mean? We'll get Lance's take on what we think these wishes are anyway. All right, here we go. Wish number 1. Can Cam come back sometime before the end of the year? I mean, how soon? What is the deal with him, and why he's been a full practice participant, but he hasn't played in a game yet this season. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost like Ryan Ellis or something with Cam now. You know what I mean?
It's kind of odd for sure. The the league as a whole has gone to this whole hush hush status updates and stuff like that, where they give as little information as possible to us, the fans, as far as players are concerned, injury wise, and it's kind of just tiresome in this sense because you think the guy is going to come back. They lead you to believe he's going to come back, and then he has a setback or whatever else, and that all we really know is the guy has an upper body injury and he's skating, but he's definitely around the rink. We saw him recently with even helping out with the one kid, Make-A-Wish Foundation, that just joined the team signed a contract for a day or two.
That was
The
awesome.
Flyers that was pretty cool. The Flyers were nice enough to see that out, and Travis Konechny, big player in that because it was that child's favorite player on the team. But Cam was a big player in that too, and off the ice, but he was at least around the rink and
He's
helping out with
traveled
that.
with the
So
team to Columbus a couple. I mean,
yeah, I don't know. I just yeah.
okay.
At this point,
So
you want to see somebody get back into the lineup. Sean Couturier is out, Brink's still out for a while. Of course, Ryan Ellis is not coming back maybe ever. So
I mean,
there's little to no hope for this current team. I mean, you had JVR come back, but he's only good for once every 10 games. Will he put up a couple of points? But I
and that
digress on
hasn't,
that.
and
Yeah,
we haven't gotten to that little, we haven't gotten to that little cycle yet.
right.
You know what I mean? He hasn't played that 10 game mark yet to get to that
Yeah,
cycle yet. And I mean, we could really use Cam's offense.
yeah.
I mean, it's it's funny. We were talking about this on the Steel Flyers podcast just the other day. Go check that out at steelflyers.com. And we were talking about how in the NFL, it is specifically spelled out that you have to say what the injury is by a certain date, by a certain time during the week, if they're going to play, whether they're not going to play. They have to be, it's relegated to when they show up on the injury report. All these things are specified in the collective bargaining agreement with professional football. And then with the NHL, it's the exact opposite. The only thing that they had to tell you was this player is in COVID protocol, or it's an upper body injury and they're day to day, week to week, or indefinite.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's all you have. That's all you get.
Yeah.
Uh, we're going to get into the whole Tony D thing here in a minute too. Uh, You know, okay. I mean, that would be wish number one. Can we get Cam Atkinson back sometime, anytime soon? I mean, what do you think? Do you think that does that?
I mean, I would want it. Yes. I mean, I think he was a bright spot for the team last season, coming over, and I mean, he's definitely a veteran leader, or would be if he was on the ice. And last season he had 50 points for the team. Um, a great turnover from what he had the previous years in Columbus, the previous couple of seasons in Columbus. So I thought he had a bounce back year coming over to the Flyers, and was really looking forward to seeing what he could do and build upon that this season. But of course, he's injured. But at this point, do you really want him to come back? I mean, they're tanking. There's some big names out there in NHL draft land, and Is it going to do
Well,
any good if he comes back at this point?
here's the
Is it good
thing.
to rush him back? Because, may come down to a couple of games. If we keep losing, maybe we end up with the Bednard sweepstakes or the Fantilli sweepstakes.
Okay, I get what you're saying, but even if the playoffs were to end now, the Flyers are still out of the top 5.
Mm.
I mean, so you have to be with the bottom 3 to get that lottery pick,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because they changed the rules after the Rangers got Lafreniere. They're like, yeah, if you finish in 15th, you can't be in the top draft pick selection. So they just do the top 3 now gets that top draft pick selection, or the top 2, right? That's how that
Something
works
like
now.
that,
Yeah, something like that now, right? And then the rest of the teams get put into the barrel along with the remaining teams that didn't get number 1 and number 2, which is and then that's how they pick out the teams to get. So that would leave the Flyers out of the top 3 even if they were to stop right now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, even with the Flyers only winning 9 games and being 9-14-7, right? The fact that they have almost as many overtime as they do
points
wins,
wins, yeah.
Is pretty much explains to you what's going on here in Philadelphia, right? Okay. Wish number 2. And this is one of the ones that you brought up and mentioned. What is with all this trade talk and buyout talk with players like Kevin Hayes? I mean,
yeah,
I would at least like to see if we could trade him before you buy him out.
Well, I don't get it really altogether. Teams are not going to buy a $7.1 million player. Even if you ate salary, you would have to eat it for this year and 3 seasons after that.
That's what I mean.
Why are they talking about buying him out? He's one of the top point producers this year. He's actually living up to his contract this year, which I can see maybe some trade value, you would think, but that's if he had this year remaining, and teams might give you a first round pick to bring him in if you ate half his salary for the rest of this year, but they're not trying to bring on, and they don't have nobody has the money to bring on a guy $7 million plus for the next 3 seasons after this. A more understandable piece that could definitely be moved by draft or by a trade deadline day would be James Van Riemsdyk, who only has this year left, and then he's an unrestricted free agent.
But I don't see anything about him.
No, I mean he's been hurt, obviously.
Yeah, but
he was the Flyers' goal leader last year as well. So if he could get going, he was off to a decent start before he got injured.
Yeah,
if he could get going, somebody like that may be of interest. Somebody like Morgan Frost may be of interest, who's a restricted free agent who really hasn't worked out here. What he had a 4.3 or 4-point game the other night against the Coyotes.
One.
Yeah, okay. That's
against the Coyotes.
Yeah, and then that's been multiple games. I think it was a multiple point game he's had previous where he's had a couple of goals. Been since the beginning of the season. Yeah, I don't know.
First time he's had a 4-point game ever.
Yeah, I don't. Well, for sure 4 points, but yeah, I was talking multiple point games. But yeah, I don't see anybody that teams would be willing to trade for because Chuck Fletcher's negligence and paying all these players 3, 4, 5 year deals big time inflated contracts for players that he would hope they would be rather than the players that they are currently. And I don't see people willing to buy into that. The only other person maybe would be Owen Tippett, but I wouldn't want to move him. He's got
Right.
a good contract for this year and next, and then he's still a restricted free agent.
And I think he's a good building block to keep in Philadelphia because I think he's buying into the system. I think he's definitely one of the up and comers.
Yeah, that's
in
trending up.
Tortorella's system. Yeah, exactly. I think he's exactly trending up. You know what I mean? I would like to at least try to. I mean, I get what you're saying. There's probably not going to be any takers out there on the trade market for somebody like Kevin Hayes. You know what I mean? And I haven't seen anything about potentially moving JVR either. You know what I mean? Which that's a little bit more understandable because he is going to be off the books at the end of this year. Do you know what I mean? But I agree with you. I think more of Morgan Frost would be more of that type of a player that might be on the block, you know, for the Flyers that would allow him to do something like that. You know what I'm saying?
A draft that you want multiple in, and I would love to have multiple first round picks in. Now the Flyers, again, for this year and next, don't have a second round pick. All right. This year they have 2/3 and 2/4. I would like to see them move up and try to get into the second round with that. I don't care about a third, multiple thirds, multiple fourths in this draft. I think there's depth. I think there's players there, but this team needs people now. And with Cutter Gauthier playing as well as he is, I think he could possibly make the Flyers team next season if he decides to leave NCAA. And, you know, this year, this pick could obviously be a great pick, their first round pick. If they could move some of those thirds and fourths and maybe sneak into the back of the first or into the high up into the second to draft somebody else that could be a game changer that fell to the second round, I think you do that. And I can see their want to get up there, but I think that's the way they're going to do it. They're going to have to trade these third and fourth round picks to try to jump up into the second or late first. Rather, I don't think there's anybody on the Flyers roster that is going to gain them a first round pick. Nobody's going to be willing to take on a guy at the deadline for 3 or 4 years after the season.
Exactly. And Morgan Frost is only on a 1-year deal. After this year, he's a restricted free agent after this year. Right. So, right. I mean, it's not
and he's not going to gain you a first, second round pick. He's going to gain you a fourth or something like that at this point. He's not lighting the, stat sheet up.
Exactly. And frankly, I like what you said. I would much rather have early second round picks, or just second round picks in general as compared to third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh round picks. You know what I mean? So, all right. Well, there you go.
This is the draft to trade up for sure because it's pretty stacked in the earlier rounds.
Exactly. Sure. And that's why I'm saying that it would be better for the Flyers to try to get those, earlier second round picks than to have the later round picks, especially in this year's draft. You know what I'm saying? So I agree with that 100%, Lance. All right. Well, that was wish number 2. Wish number 3. Can we maybe please get some help for Carter Hart? I mean, 3 observations on this one. The backup goaltender, I mean, the Colorado game, it just looked like it was almost like you were just waiting for the dam to break. Like every single shot on him was like another chip away at the dam, and then it was just finally going to happen. That's kind of how I felt about that. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, let's talk about that. Felix Sandstrom, we said before, he's not the guy that they thought they would have backing up Carter Hart this year. 25-year-old kid. He's played in 9 games. He's won one of them. He's got a 3.37 goals against average right now with a 88% save percentage, which is absolutely horrible. And, it's not getting any better. The Flyers are doing the right thing, what I said earlier in the season, in that they're playing Carter Hart now. They're putting him in net. They're starting him more and more games. And, even though his numbers aren't great, at least they're not like they were the previous years. He's keeping it under 3 goals a game. He has over a 900 save percentage. So he's doing the best with what he has. It doesn't help that his defense once again is not really up to par, but I don't know, when Uncle Chuck keeps bringing back Justin Braun into the mix and people like that, I don't know how the heck it could be. So it's nice to see Cam York up.
So that was going to be my second observation was, can we get Carter Hart some help? Because obviously the backup goaltender has not been any help. Right. But I was just going to say, finally, Cam York is in the lineup, and it appears to be staying put this time. I mean, when you listen to Tortorella talk, he has been happy with what he asked Cam York to do, especially in the minors. And then he's also said that he's very happy with what he's been asked to do since he's come up to the big club. Right. And he scored that goal the other night. And I got to tell you, man, I have been impressed with this young man ever since we saw him in juniors.
Yeah, I mean, I like him for sure. I think he's a little undersized, at 5'11" for a defenseman in my mind, but he moves the puck really well.
Yeah, and he plays bigger too.
He plays a little bit bigger than he is. He's a smart player. So he's not putting himself out there. But yeah, this season, I mean, he's played 3 games now. Like you said, he has the 1 goal. He's a +3, which in my mind makes for a good defenseman. And that +3 goes a long way because a defenseman can score all the points they want. Like Provorov and stuff tries to do and Sanheim tries to do. But at the end of the day, are they on the ice to prevent goals, or are they on the ice to score goals? And if you're on the ice when the other team scores more goals than, you're putting in, it's a problem. And you look at Ivan Provorov this year, he has 12 points in 30 games, and he's a -12. Okay? I'd much rather see Cam York out there as a +3.
And 1 goal and 1 assist. I would much rather have less production out of my defenders and have much higher plus minus numbers. You know what I mean? All day long. I'm with you on that, Lance. 110%. You know what I'm saying? And I really think that Cam York has finally, like, the light bulb, I think, has finally gone off for him. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I think he gets what he needs to do in order to be successful. And I think he had to learn a hard lesson with the whole training camp and everything that happened this year. You know what I mean? Young player, first time through, had to learn the hard way. I think he's done a very good job as far as learning and taking care of what he needs to take care of. Do you know what I mean?
I think so. I think he went down and did what he was supposed to do. Just like you said, he went down and really worked hard on his craft and really, got the game to where it needed to be at the beginning of the season, and it wasn't. So applause to him that he was able to come up at this point and not later on towards the end of the year, and they give him another shot because they're way out of it already. He's going to be able to get some definite more games in there, some more experience. So that's good in my book. I want to see this kid play, and I'm all for it. So
I'm with you on that. Exactly. And I'm excited to see what he's going to be able to do, because even from what Tortorella said, he likes he's stepped up a little bit. He's matured a little bit. He didn't, he's done well, and he's been able to meet expectations. Right. The other question that I have to be able to get Carter Hart some help with, that's also part of the defense as well, is, look, I'm not trying to harp on this, and I'm not trying to be, anything negative or bad, but, what's going on with Tony D? What's going on with his availability now? He's listed on the, not part of the team due to personal reasons and all kinds of crazy stuff. And he's listed as day to day, but he's skating or something with the team, but now he's not available for the games. What?
Yeah, it says he flew home to deal with family matters, and that's kind of the only thing that I've been able to get a hand on. Doesn't really have a spot right now as far as the team. He doesn't know when he's gonna come back. I don't know. They did so they can call up another player. As far as the cap goes and all that. So that's why they chose this route, because they were so tight to the cap anyway. So I get that, but definitely, this was supposed to be a second coming for D'Angelo. Last he came back after all that controversy and everything else. He played well this season. He was off to a pretty good start. And I don't know. I mean, if he's dealing with family trouble and it's not him per se that is having the problem, then I feel a little bit better or more at ease with that, I guess. Everybody has to deal with life and a family outside of the sport. It just, taking the best defenseman off the ice, in my mind, it was going to hurt for sure. And we shall see when he returns. Hopefully it can be sooner rather than later.
And see, I think that's the key phrase right there, is we don't know. They're not saying anything, and there's no timetable for when he's supposed to be coming back. You know what I mean? So I think having him back on the ice would definitely go a long way in helping Carter Hart as well too. He's noticeable when he is not on the ice. And I'm going to say that again. Tony D'Angelo is noticeable when he is not on the ice for this team. That's for sure. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and what he means by that is that a good defenseman, you shouldn't notice. You shouldn't notice on the ice. If he's doing his job and keeping the pucks out of the net, he's stopping chances that are, going to happen, that are gonna have you biting your nails or sitting up off the couch. You don't want those exciting plays, or you don't want the Ovechkins coming down on breakaways and all this stuff in the league. So Tony D stops that before it happens, before it even becomes a problem. So
exactly,
players like him are needed. So
exactly. And so how soon? Okay, so that's wish number, what are we at, 3? Yep. All right. Wish number 4. I didn't do 12 because, well, even though we're 10 days away, but I didn't do 12. Sorry. But wish number 4. Special teams. Oh, special teams. Oh, special teams. Can we please get something done for special teams, or am I missing something here? The Flyers went out and brought in a specialist to coach the power play, quote unquote, to coach the power play. And the Flyers are and I was being generous when I wrote this because I said 2%, but technically they're only 1.3% better than where they were last year at 15.9. That gets them at 28th in the league in power play percentage at 15 point, well, what did I say? 1, something like that.
Whatever, yeah.
Yeah. Wow, really?
Mm-hmm. Well, I got a couple of comments on that one.
I bet you do.
First off, I had my head scratching moments there when we sign, this individual that you're speaking of, because he's a fighter by nature, like he's a career, was a career fisticuffs champ, tough guy, if you will. He never really scored that many goals in his NHL career anyway, so I don't know how he's going to direct others to do so. I don't know.
That's kind of where I was coming from.
If I, maybe if it was Brett Hart, Brett Hall out there teaching these guys how to score goals in a power play, I might say, hey, this guy, the Flyers are onto something. Not that he would be bothered enough to come coach a team. He has nothing else to prove. But just that choice. I know he's been around for a while with the San Jose organization and everything else. But I don't know. I didn't buy it from the start. I'm still not buying it. It's still going to be sitting on the shelf. I'm not buying it in the future either. So that's point one. Point two is injuries. I would say injuries aren't helping his efforts at all. When you have to pull up, Zach McEwen to play the power play, not going to be too effective. Probably not going to be too effective. Or when you're having to have a guy like more Frost rely on be your second power play, probably not going to be too effective. It'd be a lot better if, the guys we said, Sean Kutcher were there, a young guy like Bobby Brink, who led the league NCAA last year in points, was there to kind of help out that situation. I don't know. There's a couple of different people. Ken Atkinson would be nice to have out there during a 5-on-4 in our favor, but special teams are not looking so special at all. So,
and here we go. Let's throw something else out there for you. The penalty kill is 23rd at 75.6% effectiveness. Now, I don't know about you, but I need to see the team at least in the 80 percentile in order for them to be winning more games, I would think, than 9. You know what I'm saying? And that's what am I missing here? We hired a coach specifically to teach the team the power play and to, give the team the power play. And I've seen here's and there's onesie twosies, but I don't see any consistency. I don't see, you know what I mean? Like you go for large stretches at a time without even scoring on the power play.
Yeah. Yep, just like they did last year and the year prior. But the one positive thing I can say is the team is taking less dumb penalties.
I agree with that.
I think they fear that. Now, Delorier is leading the league in fights right now, and he had another one tonight. But definitely taking less stupid penalties. You don't see Travis Konechny out there taking bonehead penalties like he was. He's out there worried about putting the puck in the back of the net like he should be. So kudos to them on that. I think Tortorella has come in and nipped that in the butt, because that was really bad, and that saw the team in the 30s as far as penalty kills go, because there was so many dumb penalties. So that I guess is the one positive that I can say about the special teams.
Okay. And they've also let in a few shorthanded goals too. So yeah. Can we get some special teams help? That would be wish number 4, right? Okay, so wish number 5. Uncle Chuck had a little accident leaving the skate zone in Voorhees the other night. I believed it involved some reindeer and a sleigh and a crosswalk or something. No, I'm just kidding, guys. I'm just kidding. But can we just rip the Band-Aid off? I mean, what do you think about this? We predicted, I predicted that he would be gone by this time now. Yeah. And I'm just, I'm seeing the rumblings, but I'm not, do you know what I'm saying? Like, what are we waiting here for?
For sure. I have a lot of thoughts on this, and I'm still trying to gather the time enough to write an article on this. But, at this point, I think that the Flyers fans would be fine with letting, Uncle Chuck go and going over next door and seeing if dealing Dave with the Phillies would come over and try his hand at putting together a hockey team. I don't know at this point because the Phillies are set and making progress, steps to get better, and the Sixers look pretty good, and the Eagles are looking pretty good with Howie Roseman making some deals to turn this team around and get him his quarterbacks and players that have been able to produce for him this year. And gotta say, Chuck Fletcher hasn't done it. He still hasn't done anything that really blew my socks off as far as a deal to make this team better since coming in what, 2017, 2018 now.
18,
so
yeah.
yeah.
The only thing that's really surprised me about him has been this lack of return for the Giroux trade. I think that's what's really surprised me the most about that. I mean, you know what I'm saying? This makes it very difficult to want to see him moving forward with the team, which is why I was like, okay, I mean, when can we finally make this happen? When can the Flyers finally make this happen to get rid of Chuck? Do you know what I mean? I haven't heard anything of him going anywhere. I've heard that him and Dave Scott, or that Dave Scott likes him, and the whole 9 yards, and
they seem like best friends. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like they obviously have a vision for this team, and we clearly are not smart enough to know what it is or be allowed to be privy to it.
Well, if we're not smart to know what it is, they're not smart enough to execute it. So let's just keep it real there. So my thoughts with that though is, I think they already have the person that they want to replace him with.
Yeah, that was going to be my next one, is who's going to be,
Yeah, set in stone here. They already have that person. President, CEO of Comcor and Entertainment, all that good stuff. Valerie Camillo has been orchestrating this move for quite some time in regards to Dave Briere. She said him years ago after he stopped playing to push to go back to college. He went to Wharton School of Finance, the best finance school in the world, and got his master's degree in finance. Took a lot of negotiating classes elsewhere as well, and kind of set himself up with the building blocks. They've kind of been grooming him under Chuck Fletcher now in a made-up role or position that they came up with. So in a sense, I think they do have their guy. But my question here is, who's going to be helping him? Is it going to be Chuck? Is it going to be Chuck in the rafters, maybe taking a Paul Holmgren spot with the team? Paul Holmgren is getting older and older now, and much like Bobby Clark, needs to just go away from the team altogether because their dinosaur way of thinking doesn't fit into building the building blocks it takes to build a team in the NHL with a salary cap era nowadays. So we need somebody with a fresh mindset behind it. Danny Briere, I think, could be the figurehead and be that GM, but who's going to help him? I think, Chuck Fletcher, if anything, he won't be fired because, he is loved by Dave Scott. I think he will be replacing Paul Holmgren in that sense, and he'll be promoted, but not have anything to do with the ins and outs of the team, but just an advisor or something at this point.
I'm wondering if Tortorella might have a say in some of that.
I think, he should in a sense, but I also think that is kind of being Tortorella. I think he would try, if you give him an inch, he's going to try to take a mile with that. And I think he's good at where he is. He needs to coach this team. I think Danny would need a good assistant GM.
And, but see, that's just it. Who's that going to be? And I don't want anybody from the but I don't want anybody from the Flyers that's there now.
No, absolutely not. So my guy, a gentleman who I like for a long time, is the head coach of the Brooks Bandits and the GM of the Brooks Bandits of the AJHL, and that is Ryan Papaoni. I'm butchering his name there for sure, but this guy is amazing. He's 38 years old. He's the GM and coach of the team there. He's won 5 AJHL championships, 3 national championships there. He's won 3 Coach of the Year awards. And this is the same guy that has brought you players such as Cal McCarr, who he found. Cal McCarr was not playing in the NCAA when he was drafted.
No, he wasn't.
He was found by, Ryan, and he was playing in junior hockey that nobody really watches, the AJHL, but they should. He brought
do.
Right. He brought you a player who we interviewed on another podcast of ours, the Prospect Watch. He brought you guys Ryan McAllister, who also, as a freshman this year in the NCAA, is the leading point scorer, of the NCAA. Over top of guys.
He beat Cal McCarr's records.
He beat Cal McCarr's records, but so did Zach Bookman, who we also had on and spoke to as well as defenseman-wise. But you're looking at a guy in Ryan McAllister who had 130, 140 points last season in the AJHL. He found this kid, right? Nobody else was talking to him. He wasn't playing in the OHL. He wasn't playing in the, some of the WHL, these bigger leagues. Ryan found him and brought him in when everybody else was doubting him. And now he's leading the NCAA in points, He's leading over guys like Adam Fantilli, who's supposed to be the number 2 overall pick this season. He's leading over Matthew Coronado, Jimmy Sundgaard, time pick there. Logan Cooley, the number 3 overall pick that the Arizona Coyotes selected. He's playing a freshman, this year in the NCAA. He's beating him in points. Cutter Gauthier, the Flyers pick, he's beating him in points this year. This is a guy that nobody really knew about, but Ryan found and brought in. He also brought you in TJ Hughes, who scored 127 points in the AJHL this year and is now signed to and playing with Michigan. He brought you Zach Bookman, who broke Cal McCarr's records last season, playing with the Brooks Bandits. And those are all guys that have moved on from the team. He's also brought you Aiden Fink this year. He's stocked up. He lost Ryan McAllister, TJ Hughes, and Zach Bookman, the three top players in the whole AJHL in points, and who won, a national championship for him with the Brooks Bandits. But instead, they didn't take time to rebuild. He's got guys like Aiden Fink, who's projected to be over 120 some points this year. Dario Baljo, who's projected to be over 100 points this year. A defenseman in Sam Count, who's projected to be well into the 90s. He's scheduled to go to New Hampshire. Fink's scheduled to go to Wisconsin. Hudson Malinowski, big name guy. He's scheduled to go to Providence College. Exactly. Nathan Free, another guy who we've had on the Prospect Watch with us. He's scheduled to go to Penn State. He just scored an amazing shootout goal. A goalie
young, he's 17.
16, right? He's finding all these leftover players that are the bigger leagues looked over, right? They didn't select them. So he's snatching these guys up. And that is the kind of guy, a guy that can spot talent. And what was the biggest problem for the Flyers this year? They went after in free agency. They didn't, but they were spending their time trying to go after a big name free agent target, in Johnny Hockey. They couldn't manage to deal to get the cap space, so they ended up with squat, right? They ended up with Delorier, which I like, but he's a fighter. That's a far cry from 100 and some point player that they were chasing after. And then they ended up with Justin Braun. Okay, over the hill defenseman that's just horrible, right? Instead of going after guys like the New Jersey Devils did, and I said that in a recent article and compared the good and the bad, because the New Jersey Devils were worse off than the Flyers last season, and they turned it around. Instead of going after those big name free agents when they know they were a horrible team that nobody wanted to sign and play for, they went after key guys that were on second or third tier, Andre Palat, who won 2 Stanley Cups with the Tampa Bay Lightning, right? They picked up a backup goaltender who's leading the league in wins this year. Now that they're giving him a starting job from the Capitals, they went after amazing players in their own right that they knew would fit their system, that they needed, penalty kill specialist, power play specialists, goaltenders, better defensemen that weren't big name free agents putting up big points, but they are a lot better team, and it's proving it. That is what this guy and Ryan Papiano would do if he could scout that players that aren't that top tier guy. He has it in him, right? He can spot that other people don't see. He looks at other stats that people don't see or don't pay attention to anymore to build a team. And in the same token, not only would I bring him in, but I would bring in his scout, Wayne Labrie. He's been with the team for 6 seasons, and clear out those, ex-Flyers who can't freak the broadside of a barn. Let's face it, the past couple of seasons, and bring in some fresh talent that knows how to scout talent, right? Guys that are going to be there in the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th, the 6th rounds, and be able to grab somebody that's going to be a player. Now, Chuck Fletcher has kind of done that, but still to this day, he doesn't have a legit draft pick. You're only now seeing Cam York, a 1st-round draft pick, make it in the NHL, start to make it in the NHL. He goes back down. He hasn't had a home run pick that has been able to come in and change the face of the franchise since coming in.
He's had to fight and come in and play.
Right. So that's my goal. I need, if Danny Briere is going to take over the role as a GM, and which I think he will, hopefully sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
Then you're going to need to bring in some help for him, and you're going to need to bring in some experienced people in that have experience as a GM, have experience scouting players and finding talent, because he may have a lot of good ideas, but he hasn't been there, and he hasn't got the T-shirt yet in that sense. So
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that for sure. And look, this was just a wish list of things that we would really like to see for the Flyers. You know what I mean? There's a lot of things. There's some good things going on here. You know what I'm saying? It's like they're not getting blown out of games. They're still in games. That they're still competitive, and I think that's a huge attribute to the coach. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think that the reason why the Flyers are in games and things of that nature is because of Tortorella, because of what he's done for this team and how he has them playing and believing. And, look, let's face it, we even talked about this for the Phantoms as well, in the past, that this is kind of a patchwork team right now. And there you can't really have power play and penalty killing expectations, because you've got, one of the leading teams in man games lost due to injury this year. So I'm not trying to use that as an excuse. And I'm not trying to say that the Flyers are, making that be the issue. Do you know what I'm saying? But if you're not able to have a general manager that's able to build a depth organization over these last couple of years to the point where he's just now getting one player that he drafted is now finally starting to come out on the ice. One player. One. TC, there's too many missteps. There's been too many not handled this very well. The whole Ryan Ellis thing, that in of itself, do you know what I mean? I think would be more than enough to see Uncle Chuck suddenly have to call it to be making an escape from the skate zone in Voorhees.
Yeah, well, I think he's made jokes about it, recently, and said when asked, like, where do you see this team in the future, even if you're not here, blah blah blah. He's like, well, I'd be happy to come visit, and ha ha ha, like. I don't know. I don't find it very funny, guys. Like, I think it's time to move on. And I'm not a, big proponent to fire this guy, fire that guy, after a season of work or whatever like that. But it's been multiple seasons of work, and we're going backwards instead of forwards here. So I think it's time.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. I agree 100%. And I think it's going to have to be one of those things where it's going to need to happen sooner rather than later, in order for this team to be able to make a legitimate shot at some either good draft picks or something at the trade deadline. They're going to have to be able to do a few things. Do you know what I mean? And that's the other big thing too, is that the injury bug has really hit this team very hard, and they haven't had the same top line together this whole season. Well, except for the first 5 games, and then after that, that's all. But that's all they've had. You know what I mean? So, well, I'll tell you what, Lance. I think we got a good one in the books here, boy. What do you think?
I think so. Yeah, I think we hit a lot of good talking points that Flyer fans out there are starting to rumble about, for sure. And
it's funny. We've been talking about this for 2 years now, about how we feel that Chuck Fletcher is just not the right man for this job, and he's made too many missteps and too many mistakes, and it's going to cost the Flyers for many years in the future because they're not going to be able to do certain things based off of the contracts that Uncle Chuck has done and signed. So
yeah, definitely going to hurt the team for years to come with some of his contracts that he's signed. And I mean, if you look at it, when Ron Hextall was, gave the boots, it was a nice spot for Chuck to roll into. He had cap space. He didn't
not
have
much,
to deal with
but
right, not much, but more than Ron Hextall for sure. He had to space and give $7 million to, Kevin Hayes when he probably should have only gave him 4.5 or 5. So he did his own demise there for sure with some of his moves, and we would have had a lot more cap space if you made the right deal and got the right defenseman the first time, rather than having to spend the money to go out and get Tony DeAngelo, because the guy you went out and got and traded it for is on the shelf. So who knows?
Exactly.
That's what you get when you buy damaged goods. So
exactly. Or you don't do your due diligence and figure
Right.
out that, hey, maybe this isn't somebody that we should take a risk
Guy's
on.
got a medical chart this thick, already, and then you try to trade for
Hey,
him.
let's get that one.
Yeah,
No.
there's a reason why they were getting rid of him.
I mean, for real. Well, Lance, I got to tell you something, brother. I think we got a really good show here. Why don't you tell all the great folks out there where we can find you, where we can get you, where we can read all your great stuff, man.
All right. As always, guys, you can catch me now exclusively on SteelFlyers.com. The Hockey Writers Inc. page is there. Prospect Watch page is there. You can catch me on Twitter at Lance.Green39. You can catch all our stuff on any podcasting platform of your choice. So please tune in. Please tell a friend to tune in.
And how about this, folks? A special announcement. The Hockey Writers Inc. is going to be teaming up with Manscaped. We'll have a code for you. You'll get a discount. And we'll have a quaint little commercial here for you guys. But the Hockey Writers Inc. is going to team up with Manscaped so you guys can get a discount on your order. So be looking forward to that, man, for sure. I'm very excited. I think, Lance, what do you think? You're pretty excited about that too, right?
Always good to get a nice sponsor for the show there, and ladies watching, it's a good gift for your man as well that you'll appreciate as well. So
exactly, for sure.
Check it out.
Get yourself taken care of for sure, and big thank you to Manscaped. We can't wait to get that rolling. So that's something too that we're very excited about to bring you here at Hockey Writers Inc. Thank you guys very much for watching. I'm your co-host SteelFlyers. You can find me on Twitter at SteelFlyers52. You can find all the great stuff at the SteelFlyers.com website from the SteelFlyers All Sports Network. Thank you all very much for watching the Hockey Writers Inc. We'll catch you guys on the next episode.